Dollar Tree DIY video. So I have a couple super cute, super aesthetic DIYs that I've created, and I hope that you guys really like them. And I'm super excited for this video for another reason in addition to the DIYs, and that is that this video is sponsored by Top Cashback. And if you've never heard of them before, they're basically a site that allows you to save money on your online purchases. So think of some of your favorite online shops and retailers like Amazon, Sephora, Dollar Tree in this instance. Chances are some of your favorites are gonna be there. Just head on over to their website on your phone or your laptop, and in just a couple steps, you can sign up and have an account ready to go. You can then browse all the companies, all the 4,000 companies that they have. And by the way, they pass the whole commission that they're actually making onto their customers. And in this instance, since this is a Dollar Tree DIY video, I'm gonna head on over to Dollar Tree, where they're offering 5% cash back on their US site. They have a bunch of items that I'm using in this video, like this glass vase, different types of yarn, wooden items as well. And then once you've got everything that you want to purchase, just check out and that 5% cash back will go into your Top Cashback account. They do also have a browser extension, so if you download that, it's gonna be super easy to remember to click that and get your cash back. There's no minimum to get paid out on your cashback balance, which is just awesome. And if you click the link in the description box below, you can get a $10 sign up bonus. It's a no-brainer, you guys. So without further ado, let's get started on the first Dollar Tree DIY. First DIY up is a glass/wooden vase that honestly looks so cute. And the reason I'm making a lot of pieces just like this one is because as I'm decorating my apartment, I'm realizing I need a lot more of these types of items. So let's get started with the vase.
I picked up this 7-inch vase from Dollar Tree, and these are actually the same ones that I had like 50 of for my wedding. I also got 5 packages of these craft wooden dowels, also from Dollar Tree. I started out by placing a dowel up against the vase and marking it off a few millimeters longer than the height of the vase. I then placed all 5 packages of dowels down together in a row and just drew that line straight across all of them. To trim the dowels to size, I used my trusty wire cutter and scored around the dowel, and then I was able to basically bend the dowel and cut it off to size. I found the fastest way to cut all these dowels is to hold a bunch of them in your hand and then to cut them one by one, just like you see me doing here. And don't worry if all your dowels aren't exactly the same height as one another, because it'll still look good in the end. After all the dowels were cut to size, I took a coarse nail file actually and smoothed out the edges that we just cut. Now to attach the dowels to the vase, I placed a big rubber band around the top, and for glue I'm using E6000. I did 3 lines of glue covering a pretty small section, and then I slid a dowel under the rubber band and placed it onto the glue. After I did that a few times, I started trying to add more dowels at a time and found that 3 dowels was a great number to work with, so you can just slip those right under the rubber band and place them right up to the other dowels. I just continued my 3 lines of glue as I went along, and before I knew it, all the dowels were on there. So if you look at the top of the vase, you can see the variance in height for the wood dowels, and I personally just love it. I think it adds a lot of dimension and it just looks a little bit more organic. Finally, I just added a second rubber band at the bottom of the vase to really secure it and make sure that all the dowels were touching the glue properly, and then I just waited for the glue to dry, and after that, the vase was ready.
I just love the wood, I love the texture, and my plan is also to get some bigger dowels and then to add those onto a vase that's either shorter or taller and have that as a bit of a pair. And I just think the difference in texture, but the same wood factor and obviously the round kind of dowels will just look so nice together. So yeah, I hope you guys like this one as much as I do. Recently, I've been seeing cheese trays all over home decor Instagram accounts, and I just think they look so adorable. So I thought of a way to make a super easy one out of all Dollar Tree items. Let's get started with this DIY. I also really like how this one turned out.
So I found this small wood cutting board and right in the same section a wood spatula. So both of these from Dollar Tree. Since every piece of wood is different, I picked specific ones that had similar graining, and I'd recommend that for you as well. The plan I had was basically to cut the handle and attach it to the cutting board, and I initially thought I'd use the bottom curved section of the spatula to make the handle look super realistic, so I marked off where I wanted to cut that and also where I wanted the handle to end. But to be honest, I knew there was a chance that I'd end up using the other end of the handle, so I made sure that I left enough space for that option as well. Then just taking my handsaw, I cut along that first curved line, and once I had that cut off, I could tell that it just didn't look right. I think the main reason was that the thickness of that part of the handle was a little too thin compared to the cutting board, but the handle actually gets thicker towards the end, and that's why I said I really wanted to keep that as an option as well. So I moved right along and cut the other end of the handle and just snapped it when I got through enough of it with the handsaw. Then I used my coarse nail file once again and just filed it straight. Now to attach the handle, I used E6000, but this is not food safe, so I'd recommend using Titebond 2 or 3, which is actually a food safe wood glue instead. It only costs a couple dollars and it's just as strong hold, and that's actually what I wanted to use, but I just ran out of time and wanted to get this done for you guys. Then to keep the handle in place, I put a box right up against the end and just waited for it to dry. And voila, just like that, I have my very own cheese board.
So this is the final product, and I just think it looks so adorable. This just doesn't look like it costs $2 to make, or $2.50 since I'm in Canada. But yeah, I just love it so much. I think what really helps with it looking like one piece is the fact that this is bamboo, and I believe this is also bamboo. So the actual wood grain and texture is very similar across the handle and the board, which really just makes it look like it's one piece. So yeah, I really like how this one turned out as well. So the next DIY up is a super cute boho pillow. It's got lots of texture and costs under $4 to make. Let's get started with this one.
I got these two little Dollar Tree totes that say no problema, which is super cute, but what I really liked about them was the linen type fabric that they have. It's just a really nice visual texture, and these bags are actually going to be the pillowcase. So I started off by cutting out the front of the tote bag so that I'm just left with the back and a little bit of the edge seam on the sides. Then when I laid them on top of each other, I decided to cut off the top of the bag that had the handles as well, because it would just give it more of a square shape. Then placing the bags good side together, I lined them up and just hot glued them along the sides. You can also sew them together with a sewing machine if you have one, and obviously that would work even better. I made sure to leave a relatively large hole along one side of the pillow so that I could stuff it later on. Next, I'm just drawing out a design for the pillow using a ruler and a pencil. You can't really see it here, but I'm drawing a large diamond and then a smaller, thicker diamond inside the larger one, and this is essentially going to be the design guide that I'm going to be working off of. I grabbed some black yarn, also from Dollar Tree, and I'm doing a stitch called the turkey stitch all the way around the inner diamond. So the best way to do this is to use your thumb to catch the thread, then pull the needle through the fabric to the back on the right of the thread, and then pull it back through to the front on the left of the thread. Then lock it in place with a stitch by poking the needle down on the right of the loop and pulling it back through the fabric on the left side of the loop. And you'll want to make sure that every loop is about the same height, which in this instance is about 1/2 inch long. Once I was done doing one row of the inner diamond, this is what it looks like, and I just went ahead and did a second row of loops inside of that, and this is now what 2 rows looks like. And then finally I did just add in one final row, so 3 rows total of the loops. Next, I'm taking some black yarn and going along the outer diamond with a back stitch, which is basically where you take the needle forward and then poke it back up through the fabric by taking a step back. When the outer diamond is complete, this is what it looks like, so it's looking really good. And next I'm going to turn the inside diamond loops into a fringe by just snipping the loops with scissors. And then I cleaned up the fringe by cutting along the edge, and this just gave it a really crisp look. Next, I wanted to add some tassels to each corner of the pillow, so to do this, I took a piece of cardboard and wrapped the yarn around it several times. I cut along the bottom and then inserted 2 pieces of yarn in the middle of that bundle of yarn and double knotted it at the top. I then took another piece of yarn and wrapped it around about 1/2 inch from the top, and then I just tied it off with a double knot as well. I repeated this 4 times so that I had 4 tassels in total, and I trimmed off the top of each string. I then went ahead and attached 1 tassel to each corner of the pillow. Now to actually stuff the pillow, I'm just using an old pillow that I had kicking around. I just cut it open and took some of the batting out of that and put it into my new pillow. And once that was done, I hot glued the bottom hole of the pillow, and I just love how this turned out.
You guys, I find to be so adorable. It's just so cute, and the actual techniques that were used here are what you'd also see on high-end pillows, specifically with this fringe. It's called a turkey stitch. I haven't really seen any pillows that are inexpensive that sell this type of design on it, so most of them are quite expensive. Also, if you have a sewing machine, obviously use that instead of the hot glue. I just decided to use the hot glue to make it inclusive. Otherwise, I too would have used my sewing machine, but I know a lot of people don't have them. DIY up is a wall hanging decor piece. It's a perfect blend between boho and mid-century modern, and all the items are from the Dollar Tree. So let's get started with this one.
I found this wooden flower from the craft section at Dollar Tree, and I think it's made out of plywood. I needed something round to trace, and I found this really large can of paint that I had, so I'm just tracing a half circle around it with a pencil, and then I'm drawing a straight edge on the bottom with a ruler. Next, I'm just using this box cutter that I have, and I'm scoring around the design to make it a little easier to cut with the saw. So next, I grabbed my trusty handsaw and just roughly cut out the design. And this was a little bit tricky because my saw is so big and kind of crappy, but it worked in the end. Once it was all cut out, it just needed a little bit of sanding, so I started off with some coarse sandpaper, and then I moved on to some finishing sandpaper to make sure that the whole thing was really smooth. I wanted the wood to be a nice dark brown, so I used this stain in the color espresso, and what was a little bit odd about it is that it's the same stain that I actually used on the table that you're seeing that I'm working on, and the color is completely different, so that was a bit weird. But once I was done applying that stain, I added a layer of gloss varnish to finish it off, and I just left it out to dry. Next, I found this beautiful golden yarn also at Dollar Tree, and I wanted to make a really long fringe. So to do that, I took a pretty large picture frame and I wrapped the yarn around the frame several times. Then I just cut along the bottom of the yarn so that I'm left with a bunch of long pieces of yarn that are the exact same size as one another. I cut a piece of yarn that was a bit bigger than the bottom of the semicircle, and I started attaching the long pieces of yarn to it. To do this, you basically place the middle of the yarn underneath the string and loop the bottom of it through the top. Then once you pull it through and it's tight, you can totally move the yarn across the top string so that all of the strands are actually close to each other. Now once the wood varnish is dry and my fringe is ready to go, I attach the fringe onto the back of the wood using hot glue. I also made sure to secure the ends of the yarn by folding them back over and just using a little bit of hot glue. To actually hang this piece of wall decor, I just attach a small piece of yarn using a little bit more hot glue, and it's actually super secure. And the final step is to trim the bottom of the yarn so that there's this crisp straight line, and you guys, this project is complete. I really hope that you like it.
So moment of truth, you guys, which DIY was your favorite? My favorite was probably the vase, and then the pillow, and then the cheese board, and then the wall hanging. But honestly, all of them worked out. I love all of them to bits. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, then hit the like button down below, and also make sure that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. You can also check me out on Instagram. I'm at DIY Dalia with an underscore at the end. And finally, just a reminder to check out Top Cashback by clicking the link in my description box. You'll get $10 in your account for free once you make your first purchase of $25 through Top Cashback. Plus, you'll start earning cash back, and that will all rack up, and you'll just have more money. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, you guys. Bye!